Total solutions for any mix, any volume. All managed by Panasim Enterprise Edition. Panasonic. Total solutions beyond SMT.
Hello, today I'm joined by Jason Spera, who is chairman of the Connected Factory Committee at IPC.
Yes.
That's correct?
Yes.
Welcome, Jason.
Thank you very much, Trevor. It's good to be here.
Now, back at Apex, there was a lot of discussion around this factory automation software platform, how it should go forward, how IPC should be dealing with it as a trade association, and what the industry really needed. There was a very busy, shall we say, and very almost fractious meeting at Apex with a lot of people who had a lot of different opinions. Where has it gone, and how are we progressing with it?
It's actually, it wasn't too long ago that we were in those meetings, and it has gone pretty well since then. The size of the committee membership has ballooned quite a bit. We now have 33 machine vendors. We have 2 of the leading software vendors in the industry on it, and we have actually added several top-tier EMS and a couple OEM from a customer-facing perspective onto the committee as well. In addition to that, a charter has now been formed for it that has 2 missions, and the first one is to actually just define what Industry 4.0 means in our industry's context in a way that people can have reasonable discussions with each other without everyone thinking something different. The second is the more underpinnings of how it can be done, which is the data communication protocols and standards that would be used in the industry for machine to machine, machine to system, and supply chain integration and so forth.
So, how are you structuring the committee?
Well, the structure is actually such that, and I would like everybody to know that whomever wants to join the committee, the IPC is fully open. We feel the more perspectives and understanding of what the requirements actually are is better. That's why it's been ballooning quite a bit in terms of its all the members. And it's structured actually now such that we have a Tier 1 EMS provider as a co-chair, and one of the machine manufacturer presidents have just acknowledged that they would be a co-chair as well, because I think those are 2 key perspectives. Without the customer and what they are needing out of such a solution in Industry 4.0, it won't work very well. We need the machine vendors, and then of course I come from a software perspective, so at the chair and co-chair levels. And then within the committee itself, there's every perspective imaginable from an OEM, EMS, and machine, sensor, equipment such as conveyors, so everybody, not everybody, but a great number of diverse opinions are represented.
One of the things that became evident out of the meetings at Apex is that there's an urgency attached to this. You know, we can't be sitting waiting around for 3 years for some standard to appear. So have you set yourself any sort of timelines, any interim goals of how you're going to, and what your destination is going to be?
Yeah, we are. The speed of execution is something everybody agreed upon as being important. The industry needs it. Everybody wants to resolve this issue. So as you can see, we already have gotten the IPC is forming a new committee that is not beholden to any other former committees, such as ones related to, say, other shop floor communication standards of the past. So there is a new committee number that's created. The naming is ongoing. As I mentioned, the Connected Factory name is interim. We have our charter in place, so some things have been done, and actually the formation of the communication of what Industry 4.0 is going into a meeting in May, and then one in June in Chicago, to actually begin the real block and tackling of the work of developing the standards.
Now, obviously IPC is much more than a North American trade association anymore. It's a global association in many ways. So it needs to represent the different systems used around the world. Now we know in China, for example, you've got Factory 1.0 over here, you've got Industry 4.0. How are you going to, are you getting people to participate from different geographical regions? How are you going to address this?
Absolutely. I'm glad you actually mentioned it, because obviously we're here in Germany. Germany is, I think, really acknowledged as the birthplace of all the concepts around Industry 4.0, and that is why we are actually, IPC is trying to work with their the partners they have around the world in Asia and here, and also there are organizations that are very strong in Germany with work they're doing on IIoT and so forth that we want to use, but it actually goes beyond that. It's not just geographic. So the answer is yes to that question, but it's also industry. there's been a huge amount of work done on the IoT. Everyone knows this. IoT technologies used in other industries, such as everything from data gathering and monitoring from air conditioning systems, whatever it is. The committee fully intends to leverage all the learning that was done and the work done in those and bring it into this industry to expedite the whole process and not repeat mistakes that might have been made elsewhere.
Many people would acknowledge that the factory automation debate it's an ongoing thing. It's a journey that we're on. So it's going to be constantly evolving. How is the committee going to deal with that? Is this going to be a sort of fairly vibrant committee that's going to be constantly looking at the systems and how they're changing going forward, or are you going to? Do you have a certain goal in mind that we need to get the standard to here and that's it?
I think that would be a luxury that would be wonderful to have, but because of the nature of technology and the changes, the standard has to evolve, and it has to evolve in a controlled manner that has some consensus around it, certainly, but also any standard that would be acceptable to the industry has to be extensible, which means that should vendors want to expose data that they consider specific or possibly proprietary, there has to be a mechanism, an elegant mechanism through which they can do that within the framework of the standard. But then there has to be things that the industry agrees, if you want to be compliant, it has to at least expose or do these things. So you can handle both within a data standard, and that's actually not unusual in the IoT space.
Now, one of the things that sort of really kicked off a lot of this concern around this debate was it really started at Productronica in real seriousness, was when a number of the larger pick-and-place vendors were mentioning full-line solutions using proprietary software, which in turn made a lot of the smaller vendors a little bit concerned that they might be frozen out of that. Obviously, if you are making your pick-and-place machine talk to your printer and your inspection equipment, you're probably going to get more communication going back and forward. How are you going to be able to do this with so many different variables?
Well, I think that if you have systems that were custom built and integrated by a vendor that owns them, you are going to have advantages. And vendors will always have the right to say that they are not going to expose X, Y, or Z. I mean, they have that ability. Nothing about a standard would preclude that. So if they want to retain those abilities, that would be up to them. But baseline data needs to be made available throughout the factory for the great bulk of the functionality that is needed to enable Industry 4.0 capabilities. That really does need to be, the industry needs to say, you need to at least expose these capabilities so we can get somewhere with these capabilities. But if, some vendors may say that we're going to retain this value within the scope of our integrated line internally at this point, and we'll only expose a subset of these things. There's a way to accommodate both views.
Well, Jason, it's a hugely interesting topic at the moment, and we really look forward to seeing some results coming out of the committee. So we hope we're going to see something within the next few months, and look forward to talking to you as that evolves.
You most definitely will, and thank you very much for the opportunity to talk about it.